Good afternoon. This is Long in the Making. We have in the studio today someone very dear to the show, although unknown in some ways. So I think we have a revelatory and insightful discussion with our friend and consultant, Jimmy Business. AKA Hello Cool Teens, which I guess is at Hello Cool Teens on Instagram. This is the premiere interview. He's showing face, but only to us. So I think that we are gonna get into some normal stuff, and then we're gonna play a little game.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know how much to reveal about you since you were so mysterious, Mr. Business. So I wonder if you would give us a small sampling of your, because I did guess right off the air. I guess the at least the career correct, right, which is arms dealer.
Yeah.
And so if you could just talk your shit a little bit.
Sure. So I sold my first handgun. No, okay, I'm kidding.
Small arms.
Small. I started. I got to build from somewhere.
Right.
Just. I'm gonna go by Mike because Jimmy Business. Every time you say that, I'm gonna crack up. So
I like it.
It's cool. I'm Mike. I live in New York City. I don't know. I work in technology. I love clothing. I love camo. I love weird shit.
This is the stuff.
That's pretty much it. I'm a
consummate collector.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I've always been a collector.
Conscious and consummate collector. What? So this is a question that is not written down. But what do you have a thing that you can remember being the first thing you were collecting? Like for me, probably G.I. Joe.
Yeah, I mean, as a child of the 80s, G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe is a big one. Star Wars. I think I actually started out with Star Wars, and I wasn't really a collector in so much as everybody's like, it's your birthday, it's Christmas. Here, have this Han Solo, have this, whatever.
As much as a kid can.
This off-color Luke Skywalker that I later found out, 20 years later is worth like $5,000, and I, burned it with hairspray.
Right. Yeah. God damn, dude.
Yeah, of course.
I think everyone of a certain age that has like been quote unquote collecting for any amount of time since our childhood, like has this story where it's
100%.
Why the fuck did I do this? Like I have probably I don't even know how many hundreds of thousands of like sports cards that are basically not worth the paper they're printed on at this point. Unless it is like one of those weird variants, but like I pulled like an $800 hockey card out of a pack when I was a kid, and that I've looked it up like from time to time, and it's like worth $3 or something now.
Yeah,
like motherfucker, why didn't I sell this when I was 12?
Yeah, that's how it goes, and honestly, I see a lot of that too. I mean, not so much anymore. I think a lot of it has died down, but especially around the Supreme world and the hype world, where people just buy the stuff, and there's collectors, they put it on their shelves and they got it in plastic, and like I can respect that, but at the same time, if I'm gonna buy a stupid accessory from Supreme, I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use the the beaker, I'm gonna use the axe, I'm gonna.
And that's I feel like the coolest shit that they make probably is the accessories. Because a lot of them are like have a nice patina, I mean, it's like you can make it your own. That's nice.
And I was thinking about it. Supreme has and this is just random, like in their accessories, they're probably the streetwear brand that's done the most accessories with royal warrants attached to them. And like they did like a Kent brush set a couple of years ago, and they did something else. There was like I had like a list somewhere. I was like, oh, what Supreme accessories have royal warrants? I have no idea.
Do you know how that happens? Like they just pitch the queen. Like I don't understand, because of course, like the brand is the brand, right? I mean, it's like everybody knows Supreme, and if Supreme came to you and said like, let's do a collab, you would probably say yes, right? I mean,
but sure.
Maybe it isn't so easy. I don't know.
I've in the world of NDAs and protecting your IP, who knows? But they've
Right.
definitely pulled some very interesting, accessory collabs out over the years. A lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Are you from New York originally?
So I'm actually originally from Western New York,
Okay.
and then I lived in Central New York. But I've spent the majority of my life here in New York City. So
That's
I've been
awesome.
here about almost 30 years.
What neighborhood do you live in?
I'm in the like South Brooklyn Park
Okay.
Slope area. Yeah.
Nice. I spent a good bit of
Yeah.
time down that way when I lived there. I worked in Carroll Gardens partly
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah.
the Lower East Side also for our friend Ava with Epaulet. Um, yeah, South
Cool. Yeah.
Brooklyn is definitely an interesting thing. I always loved Kensington too. I dated a
Yep.
girl that lived down there, and I was just like, wow, this is super quiet and chill.
Yeah. Yep. I'm definitely closer to that Windsor Terrace, Kensington, like South Park Slope area, and it really
Yeah.
is. It's like the suburbs. I guess I should have said the suburbs of Park Slope because that's where I'm at.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, the F train is so much more reliable than the fucking G and L
Yeah.
trains that I had to take all the time.
Yeah.
So, wonderful. And it doesn't seem like they've gotten better in my 10 years
No,
since
I don't know why they print timetables. It never
same.
makes sense.
I mean, it's kind of the same like when I'm driving in Atlanta, they have these signs that's like, 6 miles, 25 minutes. And I'm like, motherfuck
That's
me.
gotta be like, that's
Yeah.
like someone's job is to like
Yeah.
make you
Yeah.
miserable.
As Lewis Black said, it takes away hope.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
my wife lived in LA for 13 years, and when I went out to visit her, and I was like, "Oh, how far away is this?" And she's like, "It's 5 miles," and she's like, "Oh, no, it's 2 hours."
Fuck that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
Because my commute, I was gonna bitch about my commute, which is now more than 30 minutes. Disgusting. 2 miles. Hello, this is
That's
Baltimore. No one
insane.
lives here.
It's insane.
It's terrible. Yeah, it's like why? And it just is. They're never doing anything.
Yeah. So, Mike, do you remember kind of like a first clothing memory, like something when you were younger that really just like smacked you upside the head?
Yeah, I mean, there's two. There's kind of two things. One, some clothes were like introduced to me. Like my parents were pretty well dressed. My father was a professor. Taught Western Civ. He spent a lot of time in England, so he was heavy into like the Savile Row, tailored suits, the whole
Anglo
thing,
shit. Yeah.
starch collar. And so like, my Sean Crowley, who I know you've also had on your show,
Oh, yeah.
he's the guy that's carrying that torch. So like, whenever I see his stuff, I'm like, yeah, Sean definitely knows, what he's talking about. So
let's not forget Darren Johnson. Also, he was an Anglophile. We'll get them. We'll get them.
So,
I swear we will.
They were pretty well, dressed and had some good fashion sense. I remember like old ass Banana Republic catalogs coming to the house.
The best.
Like little, yellowish paper printed black and white. And then my father was friendly with Tommy Hilfiger's father, this guy named Dick Hilfiger. They called Hippo. And they knew each other for a bunch of years.
They
and
called him Hippo.
That was his nickname. He was like what do you call a guy that works on watches? Watchmaker. Yeah, I guess that would be it. And
horologist.
And so I guess, and I don't remember all the details because I was like 7 or 8, but my mom went on a trip and she's like, oh, Dick Hilfiger's son owns these clothing stores now. Here's some like white canvas pants and a purple like flannel shirt with like the little green, Tommy, buttonhole. And I was like, oh, okay. And, you're going to wear this. And then it was like, oh, Esprit. I just found out about this. So I was really rocking some like hard 80s bullshit, but I liked it. And I look at the pictures and I'm like, all right, this is cool. And that was kind of like the hey, clothes can be fun. And then, I saw what the hell was it? And this is kind of like how I got into like the milsurp and like the camo stuff was I saw Empire of the Sun, and there's this shot where Christian Bale like gets these gigantic like oversized baggy fatigue pants, and I was like, I need those pants. that was kind of like the moment where I was like, oh man, milsurp and military clothing can look really cool.
Yeah.
And I think that was actually, if I were to put a pin in like the start of my interest in that, it would probably be that movie.
Nice. And
they're like universally appealing. I feel like they're one garment that like is almost universally appealing.
And I
that's
mean,
like something very special about that.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head when that movie came out, but like
I thought it came out like in the early 2000s.
No, God, it was like
much
Empire of the Sun. But no, the movie was like, and now I'll date myself. It was like 1988, 89.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Like yeah, because Christian Bale was like
87.
Yeah, oh Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, like, that's a great time to get into military surplus too, because there was fucking surplus stores on every corner.
Yep.
That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but like,
no, they were everywhere.
Yeah,
they
were everywhere, and they had good shit.
Yeah,
like there was still so much Vietnam stuff, and like even World War II and Korean stuff that like was still. I mean, I remember like. I think I started shopping at surplus stores when I was like 12 or 13. And, you know.
Was Sunny Surplus a national chain? Have you heard of this? Is that
no?
No. They had them in Maryland. They had like a yellow rocket ship.
Oh, wow. No.
That's what was available.
That's sick. Yeah. But like, I remember, you know, if I could go back in time and go to like the little, you know, hole in the wall surplus store that I shopped at, like, I would be a millionaire because it was like fucking, you know, jungle pants and pops and everything, like $5 a pop stacked to the fucking ceiling.
Yeah,
I think about this often, if you can't tell.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, you know, a lot of like my fashion in, you know, middle school and I guess end of elementary school. Like when I started skating too, that was kind of like, you know, all the kids that I skated with were like wearing like cut off fatigues or like, you know, olive drab cargo pants and like a t-shirt or a crew neck and, you know, some shitty airwalks. And that was just kind of what we wore. And then, you know, as I got into it more, I was just like, oh, there's other camos out there. And I found out about Strictarn, right? So raindrop camo.
Yeah.
And I found out about Flecktarn. And I was like, these are cool patterns. And I was like, oh, but the history behind these patterns. I was like, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to, I like what I like and I'm going to wear it. And
totally.
It kind of went from there because as we, you know, camo can get political too. And, you know, I try not to delve into politics, but definitely, you know, camo can be so many things to so many people. It can be just identity. You can like the patterns and colors. You may have a political affiliation or a military affiliation while you're wearing it. You may just like the cut of the pants and that's the pattern they come in. You know, there's a million reasons.
Also, since basically the dawn of army or military surplus, people have used it in a countercultural way.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, going back to even like the returning vets that, you know, started like motorcycle club culture.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In the like late 40s and early 50s. Like you know, it was I feel like at its base, like I'm not going to put on a fucking German Nazi camo uniform.
No, God.
Like, you know, if I see those, I don't even think twice about buying them just because like that's not me. But you know, like it's always been this thing where it doesn't have to, it has whatever affiliation you put onto.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultimately it's floral.
Yeah,
it is, and like
plant based, right? It's like it is natural. It is nature.
Yeah, and like a big thing for the past few years, as someone that like deals in vintage clothing, I've come to love things that the I don't like to use redneck as a pejorative these days, but the hick assholes wore the like tree bark. That kind of like
John and I, Leisure Loafing and I, we were talking about this today. Like,
like, and it's been a big thing of the past few years where like the queer community has started to like reclaim this, and it's a big thing in that world.
Yeah, Realtree must just be loving the exposure especially in like the you know, the streetwear world, sneaker world, and then just I mean it's been everywhere for a while, but it definitely flipped more. I feel like streetwear started to focus more on a lot of Realtree patterns. You see it, you know, Stussy, Supreme, Palace. I mean, there's a million of them out there, and some of them are great. But yeah, I spent a good chunk of my formative years in Central New York, and you know, a lot of the clothes were Carhartt, and
Yep.
you bought one jacket a year, and it was your hunting jacket. So it was dual purpose. You got a nice warm big coat, and it might be Realtree, it might be a tree bark pattern, it might be a leaf pattern, but that was like your jacket. And so that was always, people are always like, I'd bring friends upstate from the state. They're like, why is everybody in camo? It's like, because you commit to one good jacket a year, and it's your year-round jacket.
Right. One of my biggest regrets of letting something go in my life is like the first Supreme hat I ever bought. I got it used on like Super Future or something for like $30 or something, but it was a Realtree pattern before they actually had the copyrighted Realtree.
Yeah.
And it had a brown box logo on it. Fit my head perfectly. I don't know why I ever got rid of
it. 2006?
See, motherfucker. I knew this shit was going to happen.
Yeah,
I know exactly the one you're talking about.
I have tried to find.
I bet you could draw it.
I have tried to find this hat so many times, and like I would pay probably not what it would retail for these days, but like I would pay a significant amount to get
I've seen the hat, I think, right? Like,
yeah,
it's a real hat. It's a real.
I have a lot of the core of my collection of Supreme shit is camo caps. So I've done
some great ones.
I've covered a lot of territory, and it is interesting to see how in the early days, there was basically my assumption, because I can't verify a lot of this, in what's out there, but my assumption is that they just used a lot of dead stock, production camo, and then just had it cut into hats. And then later on down the road, you would see where Supreme kind of modified patterns for themselves. So you'll see like a Supreme spell out somewhere in the pattern. They kind of claim the pattern. And then, later on down the road, you then see the actual licensed, Realtree, Cryptech, all that stuff coming out.
Right. Well, this is a great topic to lead us into our next section. Sure. So with the Weejons guys, shout out John and Dan, we did something we called Stud or Chud. This is not going to be the same thing, but it basically, if you haven't listened to the episode, goes through a bunch of various clothing and related items, and you pick whether it's a stud or chud.
Okay.
So with you,
oh boy,
we're gonna do a camo bracket.
Oh no! Okay.
And see what the reigning champion of Mike's camo preferences.
All right.
And there are tens of thousands of dollars riding on this.
So, yes. So we've got.
Be very, very cautious with your choices.
We've got 16 patterns.
Oh my god!
Going up neck and neck, and seeing which one reigns supreme.
Okay.
So let's start with the first two, which are tiger stripe and lizard camo.
Ooh.
We also, to preface this, we try to pair similar things.
I think that am I allowed to grade on the range of available variants of that?
Of course.
Dude, go fucking hog wild.
100% tiger stripe.
Tiger.
Yeah.
Wow, dude, it was out with the quickness too. I mean, but I guess I don't know. I feel like that was my opinion too.
It's one of the coolest patterns. I have one pair of pants that are like a lightweight Vietnam pair that I got for nothing. Split the ass immediately because
that happens.
It's got junk in the trunk, baby.
I was going through a buy and I lifted like a 75-pound box, which was not the best idea I've ever had. But
and you're like, yep.
Tiger is just
of ripping.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever lifted 75 pounds. Anything.
Tiger it's not my personal favorite, but is one of the best and like most. I think just most relevant to this set.
to throw my father under the bus, he used to say that Tiger was not natural, right? Like the horizontal line doesn't really occur in nature.
Right.
Well, sure.
But there is also vertical Tiger.
Yeah.
So. Right. Well, I'm saying the point is like foolish. It still is good. It's like cool, right?
All right.
I mean, Lizard's cool, but it kind of reminds me of DPM, and I like DPM more than Lizard. But anyway, I'll continue, please.
Okay. All right. So Tiger Stripe wins round 1. The next 2 are All Season, All Terrain, and Duck.
Oh, come on.
I also love both of these patterns. So
I Duck 100%. And I'll tell you why. As much as I like ASAT, I will forever think of Pamela Anderson in Barbed Wire. With
yeah.
And that's all. I mean, ASAT's super cool. And
Also,
there's a lot of history in streetwear with ASAT, but Duck and all the Duck variants, frog skin, all that shit. Duck, 100%.
Yeah. ASAT was also developed just outside of Atlanta in one of the suburbs. So.
Yeah.
Brigade Quartermasters, RIP. Okay, the next 2, we've got Tree Bark and Real Tree.
Damn.
We did try to make this hard.
Boy, yeah. I'm gonna go with Real Tree just because of the spectrum and the ubiquity of it.
I honestly, that's
Real Tree. You really?
Yeah. I thought you would have gone Tree Bark all day.
I mean, tree bark's cool, and it definitely it's a standout pattern, and there's a lot of good variants of it. People have done their own versions of it. I think Supreme did one. But I feel like Realtree, if you were to look at the umbrella of what's under there, the Realtree offerings, there's all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah,
with the oak leaves and the branches and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was just gonna chime in and say I think that it's nice, the like sort of literal representation of the branches and stuff. Yeah, it's nice.
Literally just tree.
Right.
All right, Connor, you want to take the next couple?
Sure. Right. So this ERDL/brushstroke. Yeah, I feel like I could guess this one. Let's see.
And what was the other one? The brushstroke?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a whole. It doesn't matter like which variant.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so like I guess when I think brushstroke, I think DPM. So I'm gonna go with.
What does it stand for? DPM.
Disruptive pattern material.
Right.
Yeah. Real.
The military is so amazing.
I honestly don't remember what ERDL stands for, so
that?
I did not know this until a few minutes ago, but it stands. Hold on, fuck.
Every good boy deserves fudge.
It is, I believe, based out of the Natick.
Oh yeah, okay.
Manufacturing that did all the like test and experimental uniforms.
Yeah. Also, ERDL and man, now that I'm on the spot, I can't remember what it is. Woodland M81. They're always very similar to me, and I always find them to be the most like cop out pedestrian camo pattern. Like when you're doing clothing that's in camo, I'm like, oh, really? You did Woodland?
Well, the difference,
all these other things.
The difference with ERDL and Woodland is ERDL has like a much more vibrant backside, and the green, like lime dominant, is obviously like a whole lot greener than its Woodland counterpart.
And it's also a tighter pattern too, if I recall, than the blotchy Woodland.
All right,
I look at a little bit. I mean, I have a Woodland jacket that is like a large short, which is hard to find, and so I feel like it's like almost the most ironic camouflage choice because it's like bland and droll, so I think it's fitting.
So ERDL stands for Engineer Research and Development Laboratories.
There we go. Yeah.
That's actually way less bad than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be something terrible.
Like French name, or what does this really stand for?
Right. Well, just like what was it, the disruptive whatever? I mean, it's like
disruptive pattern material.
Yeah, they just do shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't need to. But somebody gets paid for it, I guess. So So we've got Scorpion Urban Tracks. I think I know one of those.
Wow. I am gonna look these up. Because I, off the top of my head, don't know.
Wow, dude, we stumped the chump.
Yeah, you did. Okay. Oh, okay. OCP.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
okay?
yeah.
OCP,
That's Scorpion.
and then what was the other
And
one?
then Urban Tracks, it's like a gray with like white and black
Oh yeah, I've seen
shapes.
this
It's
one.
made for or was developed for urban warfare.
I kind of
Yeah.
like it like in like a pant.
The only thing I know that was ever actually like issued in that was a very rare uniform called the close combat uniform. They made like it was an experimental thing. I can't
Yeah, it's a
remember who.
Natick pattern, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah. I
sounds
can't remember
fantastic.
who it was issued to. It was like 2 units or something, but they're hella rare and like
Oh man, I think I mean OCP. I got some stuff that's in OCP. Urban Tracks. Now that I have seen it, I know what it is, but like off the top of my head, clearly not on my radar. But Urban Tracks definitely wins. That is a fun, weird
it's
looking
really
camo.
cool.
Yeah.
It's also like the name of a record store in a city
Oh,
somewhere.
yeah,
Sure.
definitely,
100%.
definitely.
All right. So the next pairing is chocolate chip or strict tarn.
Oh man, I mean, strict tarn, 100%. Like, chocolate chip, has a special place. As a kid of the '90s, seeing the Gulf War go down on
Right.
TV, that was my first introduction to both chocolate chip and DNC, which is probably like my favorite overall pattern. Um, but strict tarn, and this rewinds kind of all the way back to what we were talking about with milsurp. Seeing that as milsurp, in like 1989, 1990, I was like, oh, some army wears these pants with lines on it. This is so cool. And I got a pair of cargo pants, immediately destroyed them. But I always like strict tarn, and actually, of the many Supreme camos, their multiple issues of strict tarn over the years have always been my favorites. And they 2001, 2003, 2008, 2024, this year they basically did a reissue.
Yeah.
I love that pattern.
Oh
And
yeah.
and I think that pattern was like, it was made so when you were at a certain distance, you blended in more with whatever the background was. I don't remember I read up on it a while ago, but I also think it was an ineffective pattern.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's
both.
cool.
I think both of those. But it is so fucking cool. Yeah, I mean, I have like a grenade pouch
Yeah. Oh
that I
yeah.
use as a camera bag. I mean, it's just like it's cool. It's like abstract.
My first chocolate chip camo was I don't know if you guys remember skids, which were like those like kind of baggy, shitty skater pants you bought at
Oh
like
yeah. Yeah.
Carousel or whatever in the mall. So they had all wild, patterns, and they had one camo pattern, and it was fucking chocolate chip. So I was like, yeah,
Right.
and of course, immediately destroyed those pants too.
Well, hang on a second. We're going off the rails here, but you are a clothing destroyer like Matt, as far as I can tell, right? So what is up with that, huh?
Well, also,
Can you just not destroy your shit?
I don't destroy my
Are you
shit anymore.
skateboarding? Are you still skateboarding?
I
That's
am not.
bad.
You do not want me on a skateboard
No,
now.
fuck no, dude. And we need you. We need you with both working wrists.
I do not destroy clothes anymore. But yeah, like when
Back when you
you're
were
a
a
kid,
young buck.
yeah, of course. Fuck yeah.
Well,
Plus, they were like
Matt's still
$5.
doing it, and Matt's still doing it with vigor and verve. Je
Yeah.
devoir.
Hey man,
Well, I made it through. I made it through having two.
I respect it. I think it's great. I just like it would be hard for me without hurting my body to hurt my clothes that much.
Yeah.
And I'm surrounded all day by like malicious 5-year-olds.
Yeah, that's still a problem. I have a daughter who's pretty young, but she's not like throwing up on me or anything anymore. So I don't have to worry about my clothes getting destroyed by the children. And generally I work a desk job, so you know I there's not a lot of encounters with things that are going to destroy my clothes. My shoes, just by nature of living and working in New York City,
that's almost impossible.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So we've got 3 rounds done. We're gonna cut out one, and we'll have a wild card.
All right.
So the wild card is going to be Flecktarn or Alpenflage.
Flecktarn.
Okay. Okay.
Definitely. Because that just goes back to my early interest in camo and seeing Flecktarn for the first time.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah, it's really sick. I'm also not a big fan of the color red. So like, as cool as I think Alpenflage is, I don't know if I would ever wear it.
Yeah, and there's a couple different color pattern, variants of it, but that default red, I actually don't own any more Alpenflage stuff. I got rid of it all because I was like, what am I going to wear this with?
Yeah, 100%. All right, so let's go do this bottom to top now, and we'll throw the wild card in.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Stricktarn or Urban Tracks?
Stricktarn.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. You're pretty invested in that pattern.
Yeah.
So, and now, what do we got?
Do you know anything about the designers, like the design process of that? I don't want to be putting you on the spot, but I figure you might.
No. Like I
actually were the designer.
I was the designer. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've read about it like 3 or 4 times, and my only lasting takeaway was that it was made to blur out people at a certain distance or make them harder to see through optics or something. But that it was also ultimately a failure. But as far as like the development of it came out of another camo that I can't remember the name of. That was a German camo, I believe, and they took the little striped elements and then flipped it into its own camo pattern. And I'm not an expert, but I think that was the case.
All right, so now we're gonna, since you have a connection to both of these, Stricktarn or Flecktarn?
Stricktarn.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Gonna go with that.
I can get down with that.
It's good. It's really like, it is calming, I think. It's very like brutalist and
true. And it's also like, it's an olive drab base, so it's pretty much wearable with whatever the fuck you want to wear.
Yeah, definitely. Whereas Flecktarn is not. That's a hard one to to match up with things. Like usually you got to do like a solid top or something like that. Something that's going to be like a little lower key, because otherwise you'll just look insane. Which I've definitely done.
Totally.
I've really messed with some patterns. But yeah, it's just harder. Like the straight lines in the Stricktarn, you can also match it with other patterns.
Yeah. Every time I see like an Engineer Garments photo shoot where they have like, or Nepenthes where they have like 6 different patterns all worn together, like I look at that, or like old Vietnam photos, where they're wearing an ERDL hat and tiger.
Which they were doing because they were going to die and they were 19.
Well, I'm like, dude, this looks cool. And then even if I try to wear like a camo hat with like a plaid flannel shirt or something, I feel like a clown. So,
dude, you just gotta step into it. I can't believe I didn't lead with this. This girl today said, "You look like a clown, Mr. Connor." Nice. She says, "Because you walk like a clown."
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I mean,
wow.
Funny like a clown funny? She didn't appreciate it. She didn't appreciate it at all. I did the whole monologue. She didn't like it.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so now we've got Realtree and Brushstroke.
Brushstroke.
Cool. All right, and the final semifinal round, or I guess almost semifinal round, we've got Tiger Stripe and Duck.
Duck.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Also, my favorite actual pattern. So,
I think it's almost everybody's. That's what John was saying.
It's such an like pants, jackets, whatever.
And everybody, I mean, everybody has done something with it. Double RL has had multiple different duck patterns out there. A lot of like historical reference patterns. Supreme, like you name it.
Every fucking JCPenney has
literally everybody's got it. I mean, JCPenney used to just sell duck camo, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
I got a flamethrower GI Joe for Christmas, Iwo Jima, and he had the like duck,
the frog skin.
I guess it is frog skin, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, they fucked that up. I can't believe it. I mean, how would you make such an error? I guess that
there's just so
computers.
many fun variants of that, like the
I love
Oscam, which is like
oh
yeah,
Oscam is
another cool one. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Bogan, the South Vietnamese like duck pattern.
Oh yeah,
like I like that because it kind of like tiger, like the blacks fade to kind of a purple, so it looks just totally different.
I mean, one of my favorite tiger patterns is that like purple tiger, or like the purple like real. I was in Japan I don't know, 2 months ago, and
oh yeah, I want to talk about that too.
The real McCoy's store, and that place blew my fucking mind. But they had this amazing, like, it was like a mix of like that purple tiger stripe with like the gold tiger, like all in the same pattern. And
that's not right.
So fresh. And then I like flipped it over, and it's like $750. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Cool, but no.
Dude, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's like the going price for something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess.
Sadly.
But their shit's just absolutely amazing.
My boy Ahmed is in Japan right now, and he's like doing all the like vintage stores and stuff.
God.
And it's like, God.
It's my buddy that I went with, we're all over the place because he's also very into clothing, a lot of vintage stuff, and we had some good conversations with, like, there's a bunch of shops in Kyoto over by Nishiki Market that I've been to a couple times, and I feel like now they've just kind of expanded and gotten bigger, but it's kind of amazing to just go in and see these just like racks of like highly specific, we only collect LL Bean flannels from 1975 to 1990, and we will give you it in every color, every size, but it's only this time period. And then
that's what you do too. That's what you do too,
yes,
right?
Yes, it is. So it's very appealing to me, right?
No, I mean, I think it's great. What I'm trying to figure out, have you thought about why?
No, I never have. I mean, I think there's just like a satisfaction in with collecting. I think with all things, it's fun to like have the objects and see the objects and like derive pleasure, and then I like to also know more about them. So like the history. So very much like with the clothing and stuff, and this is always been fun, especially with the collecting old Supreme stuff, is trying to like unearth the story behind how something got made, or who made this design choice, or where did you get this pattern from, or where was it made. It's not just the having of the object, it's the ability to like then rattle off to some other nerd like myself,
right.
Oh, I know all these really hyper specific details
right
about this collection of hats, or whatever it is.
Okay, so let's take your top 3 answers have been Strictarn, Brushstroke, and Duck. Yep. So what's the gold, what's the silver, what's the bronze?
I think Duck is the gold.
Okay, all right, yeah.
I honestly, because I just, again, in my mind, I'm seeing all these different duck variants, and just how amazing they can look. Strictarn is silver, and then the Brushstroke camo is the bronze.
Nice.
Matt and I did not discuss this, and I think we're equally cheesed to have it be Duck. I mean, I think that's like,
no, it's Duck's sick. There's it's a good look, and
it's beautiful. It's like muted. It's like very nice. It's soft.
Even my wife wears it, so she only bust out a few camos.
Dude, one of my favorite parts of selling vintage.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I love selling vintage to like women or femme people, whatever their gender. Like, it's just such a cool thing to me. I'm glad that's something that's happening more and more.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of my
version.
like inspiration to comes from my wife. She also, she worked in reality TV. She worked in fashion. She's a producer. So she does like photo and video production, and she also has a really good sense of fashion. She comes from a family that has been in basically has a workwear business that's been in New York City for well over 100 years. So she kind of grew up in that environment of like,
Yeah. In the
denim,
rag trade.
Carhartt, yeah, the whole thing. And so she's always had really good opinions. And then honestly, the Instagram feed came around during the pandemic when we were just kind of like indoors, and I was like, man, I got a lot of fun, weird, cool shit in my closet. I'm just gonna create an Instagram feed for the hell of it, because why not, right? I'm bored, and like some of this stuff hasn't seen the light of day, some of the stuff doesn't fit, but I would like to at least be able to talk about it and like what it meant to me. And that was kind of how the feed got off. And over the years she's like made some suggestions here and there, and but we'll go out and she'll see something like a fun camo pattern, and she'll know what I like and what I don't like, and she'll guide me to those things sometimes. I'm like, yeah, this is good. And then she'll be like, oh, and it's for me too. And I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome.
we can
This
share
is like in the movie when they say the name of the movie.
Yeah,
This is the entire fucking point of the thing. So we've done it here. Yeah. Well, no, and you're like talking about your like loved one, that your partner or whatever. I think that's like great. And that's what, I don't know. I mean, people have relationships through clothing.
Yeah, definitely. And the fact that we're both, she's also very into vintage stuff. We love an estate sale. It's just how it goes. And every year she's like, we got to go to Brimfield, and I'm like, yeah, we got to go to Brimfield. Still have not made it to Brimfield. Someday I will go to Brimfield.
Right. Yeah, it seems like the type of place that I would enjoy, but
Oh,
also
yeah.
just feel so overwhelmed by
Yeah.
the sheer amount of stuff.
Oh,
It'd be
yeah.
the kind of thing you would want to walk like on an invisible platform above it,
Right.
like
Yeah.
at an aquarium.
Yeah.
Plus just the the width of what's available, and then just all the the stuff that you don't know about because you're not in with the certain dealers. They always have like their hidden gems. If you're just a regular dude rolling up, they're not going to show you that. But if you
Yeah. When
know
I'm in
somebody, like,
when I'm in yard sale mode, I also don't want to talk to anybody unless like I'm actually interested in something.
yeah,
Like I might do a hey, how are you, and a thank you if I don't buy anything, or if I do like I'm what I call a mercy buy.
Yeah, dude, it stresses me out so much. I don't want to have to fucking like tell someone I don't want to buy something. Are you kidding me? I'm not cheap. I just don't like it.
I just imagine I imagine Brimfield is just like would make me feel so similar, but also like way more anxious because I would know a bunch of people and I would have to chat with them.
an awkward conversation you don't want to have.
Yeah, there's so many like vintage fairs and like craft markets and shit, and it's like not only are you like destroying this person's livelihood, you're like shitting on their passion.
Right.
And that's what I want to be. I don't want to be responsible for refusal in that department.
Yeah. And there are people that definitely take offense to that. I think there's sellers out there that you're like, no photos, and it's like, well, I was actually taking this photo because I was going to send it to my friend that I'm shopping for, but now
right.
Sorry, dude,
yourself, buddy.
Like I'm not going to try to steal your this image and claim it as my own. Like I'm actually trying to help you sell stuff, but it is what it is.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's complicated. The ethics of commerce are complex.
But there's other times when you see something and you're like, that's the thing, and you waffle back and forth. And you're like, oh, it's $100, more than I want to spend, but it's something that's super unique.
Buy that shit anyway.
Yeah, you end up buying it, and then or you don't, and you feel the fucking regret of it.
Yeah.
Like
Dude, yeah.
So this is a 2-part question. Like, what was the last thing that was like that for you? I feel like you wrote something about it recently.
I mean, geez, what was the last thing I regret not buying? I don't even know
No,
because
I mean the last thing that you said, "Fuck it, I don't care how much this costs."
oh man, there's actually I bought this thing. Man, it's actually in my feed. Basically, there's this company in LA. It's called I think it's Monotally. Um, I believe the guy is Japanese.
Yeah, it's
Um,
Yuki
yeah,
Matsuda.
and he is does production in LA, and there was this really cool like duck camo looking like satin lined pullover thing.
Yeah.
It's in my feed, like I don't know, down 2 or 3 pages, and it was not cheap, but it also wasn't crazy expensive. I'm like, man, it's the middle of summer. I'm like, when am I gonna wear this? And then I ended up buying it, and I was like, yeah, fuck it. And I've gotten so much enjoyment out of that, and compliments and like, hey, where'd you get that? And then I found out that there's more to the collection, so there's like pants and a shirt and like a
Oh
trench
shit!
coat. I was like, no, I'm good, I'll just stick with this one piece. I don't need to buy every piece. But I think that's the last thing where I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, yeah. It's great when it works out that you actually like get a lot of wear and enjoyment out of the thing, and not just like look at it in your closet like, why the fuck did I buy
Right.
this?
And then, and then
That's terrible. It's so terrible. Like the regret, the buyer's regret is like a
well,
dagger.
there's also the buyer's regret when you buy. So in my world of collecting, right, I buy just a shit ton of stuff from Japan, and it can be so hit or miss. And a couple years ago, I found, so in 1998, for the opening of one of Supreme's stores in Japan, and still the details are foggy on this, but they Supreme produced basically a bunch of Patagonia ripoff stuff. So they had like fleeces, windbreakers, yada yada yada, with a little Patagonia logo, but it said Supreme and it had like the Twin Towers on it.
Oh
And
Oh, see,
shit!
we're going there. We're going there.
super cool. And
Jesus.
it's when they were flying like below the radar, and no one was coming after them with cease and desist orders, and it's just a real like piece of like Supreme history. Also, it just like looks cool. And I found the Grail, which was this like orange version of the fleece, this like zip up Polar Tech fleece that I guess Drake wore and therefore like repopularized. And I got it, and it was too fucking big. And I was like, I cannot wear this. I tried to wear it a couple times, tried to wear it layered, and I'm like, this is the fucking Grail piece, and I can't, I just it doesn't work. And I ended up
Damn.
selling it to a guy in New York, who hopefully is getting a lot of enjoyment out of it, because it's so rare. And it was one of those things where it's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna spend the money on it because I want this, and then to get it and have it not fit. But
Yeah,
that was a lot of
Dude, that's the agony and ecstasy
uh,
of the whole
yeah,
scene, I
yeah,
think.
it really is. It really is. And when you're proxy buying and you can't communicate, and the measurements are off, you know,
Well,
uh,
you get it's like a double victory. Like when you get something that you like
yeah,
that also fits, you're like, fuck,
yeah, yep,
this
yep,
is this is like
yeah.
catharsis.
yeah. So, how long have you been into Supreme and collecting it? Like, is
I
that
mean,
kind of your main focus?
no, no. I mean, so when I moved to the city, I had kind of an ambient awareness of Supreme.
Right. And
Um,
what year would that have been?
That was like 98. So, they were very much in business and established, and I had skater friends that wore Supreme, but it was basically inaccessible when you lived in, upstate New York, unless you went to the city to buy it. So like a couple of my friends had like the old like Everlast Supreme spell out shirt, and like a couple of them
Mhm.
had like tree bark caps or something. It's like, oh, that's cool. And I went there a couple times. I don't know, like late '90s, and it was intimidating
Right. Is this
because
was
I'm already like the old. And I can't skate for shit, and I'm just like, I just want to see what's going on. I just and I kind of just kept tabs on it over the years, and collected hats here and there,
You're
and
affable though, right? And you're like a photographer, so you fit
sure.
in.
But it was different, right? And then and then it just like the hype grew, and like the where I was working, I wasn't really like didn't have the ability to like dress up like or dress down, whatever, like that. So I was like, I'm not going to spend money on this stuff. And it really wasn't until probably 2017, when Supreme opened their first store in Brooklyn, that I was like, oh, you know what? This is now local. I don't have to go into Manhattan. Hopefully the lines aren't as crazy. I'll kind of swing back into this. And I would say probably since 2017, the interest in it kind of ramped back up. And then really in the last like 4 or 5 years, the focus on the like camo streetwear, um, and then primarily the Supreme stuff has been of interest to me. And it's really a lot of the older, under the radar Supreme stuff from, the late 90s, early 2000s that has been my focus. But I still I still actively buy stuff, that they release. The last 3 or 4 seasons have been like hit or miss. They did some good, I guess re-releases of stuff from the archive. They did some fun camo patterns. I'm still very much a fan, but there's definitely times I'm like, maybe I don't need a big logo across my chest anymore.
Right. I mean, if you've been around and aware of this since like '98, and I don't remember the exact year that like they were sold to whatever acquisition firm, but like, has it dramatically changed like from your vantage point?
I mean, I think there's a couple things at play there, right? When you become beholden to someone else, as your boss, when you get bought by a private equity firm for a gigantic sum of money, now my assumption is James Gebbia had someone that he now had to report to, where before he only had himself to report to. And so that probably changes the dynamic of the business, because when a firm like BlackRock buys you, they really just want to probably juice you for returns.
Wait,
I
is
don't.
it really fucking BlackRock that bought
Yeah,
them?
Black.
Yeah.
Was it Black? No, not no. It was
What is
not BlackRock. I'm so sorry. That is
no?
incorrect.
It's not LVMH. It's the other.
Oh my god! Now I'm like flaking on my Supreme history.
Uh,
No,
yeah, Vanity Fair that owns.
no, no. Before Vanity Fair. Oh man, am I gonna have to look this up? I'm really being put on the spot here.
Sorry, man,
Uh,
didn't mean to do that.
no, no, no.
Vodka?
No, no. That's now. Uh, let's
Oh,
see.
they just changed hands again. I guess I'm
Jesus
I'm
Christ!
sorry. It was the Carlyle Group, not
right,
BlackRock.
right, right,
Jesus
right,
Christ.
right, right.
So
Yeah,
they
what a nightmare.
so Carlyle, I guess, bought an interest in Supreme, and then Carlyle spun them off to VF, Vanity Fair, which aligned Supreme with basically all the brands that they had been collaborating with consistently over the years, like North Face, Timberland, Dickies, all that stuff. And then if you kind of watch the financials over the years since the acquisition, I don't think things were going too well, or VF wasn't getting what they expected
Right,
out of
right.
it. And you could see that also just in the product offerings, where the selection of stuff just got bigger and bigger every season, and there were more of these like repeats. Like I'll use the North Face stuff for example. When Supreme first did their collab with North Face in I don't even remember, 2014, 2011, something like that. It
We'll
was
forgive
it was
you.
amazing, right? And it was absolute heat. People were all over it. Those jackets still go for a couple grand easy. And then over the years, they did more and more of these North Face collabs, and there was a lot of sick North Face collabs, and they weren't always consistent. Like they would happen like once a season or once every other season or something like that. But like when when VF got in the mix, uh, it felt like every season had two bad North Face collabs with like 50 different items in it, and it was like they were just kind of like pushing that down to the consumer, and like the designs didn't look great, and I definitely bought some of it, but it just didn't have the same vibe that it had 10 years earlier. So you saw a lot of that. You also saw like the in-store experience, where if you look in Reddit or any of the forums from whatever 10 years ago, is always like, everybody at the Supreme store is such a dick, like they kicked me out for taking a picture. And now it's like a totally different world. Like You really don't see a lot of that unless, I guess, if you acting like a fool, you might get ejected still. But it definitely is not like what it was, and that's probably the result of whatever corporate leadership handed down to Supreme. So I don't know, the acquisition by Luxottica is interesting. I mean, I feel like Luxottica's got the monopoly on basically all eyewear in the entire world. So who knows? It wasn't who I thought they would end up with.
Meta, Luxottica, Supreme,
Oh God, yeah.
smart glasses. That's where we're going.
Oh
Or to be
God.
like, hey dudes are involved somehow.
So there's always these arguments online about how like Supreme is dead, Supreme's not dead, and when you had started out, you'd said arguably one of the best known fashion brands in the world, and yeah, I definitely they have a huge cachet and a huge following, but for people that track that stuff, I guess it's easy to be like, oh, they sold out, they're too big, but again, I guess Supreme is what you get from it, right? Like if you take it super seriously, if you're some like Instagram like flexer dude, I don't know. I have no idea. Like I buy what I like and I wear what I like, and it's I've definitely over purchased stuff in the past, but I've also skipped entire seasons too because it just wasn't my my taste, and I try not to buy shit for the sake of buying shit, but I don't know. My hope is that they can continue the momentum that they've had, but maybe kind of draw it in a little more and maybe make it a little more niche again. I don't know if that'll ever happen because ultimately your
It can't
corporate
happen.
parent.
You can't put it back in the
You
fucking
can't,
box.
you can't,
It's
you
the
can't.
same story as ever. It's the
I know.
same shit. It's like every hip hop album is fucking dog shit because they make it as many songs as they can to maximize streaming revenue. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
I also find it funny looking at the wiki just now that Vanity Fair bought them for 2.1 billion, and then they sold them for 1.5 billion.
Yes. Yeah. If you
It's chump change to these motherfuckers.
I mean, yes, but like that's
You know?
I mean, I can't even fathom $1 billion, but
No one can. Yeah.
like $500 million drop in the sale price seems wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that a lot of the well, my take is that a lot of the folks that were looking to cash in on buying Supreme were informed by the 20 what 2009 to 2016 like hype peak that Supreme had, where everything sold out, everything was being resold, like it was impossible to get, and it's like, oh man, it's like printing money, and then
Basically, yeah.
over time, you push more product out the door, you have more
The golden
SKUs,
goose.
you make it easier, yeah, to purchase stuff, then it's gonna become, maybe played out. And
Yeah.
like I said
I mean,
earlier,
we're
I
looking
don't
at
need
Nike
I don't
now.
need to wear something that's like emblazoned with a gigantic Supreme logo anymore. Like I don't care. I actually have been appreciating a lot of their like flannel shirts and double knee pants lately.
Yeah.
Just very low key.
No,
But
people I know swear by their like denim and
oh
stuff.
yeah. I have many pairs of their denim, and they continue to do a Japanese selvage denim. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
season they do like a baggy or skinny. They've had some denim in there that's made in Hong Kong. They also now have denim in the rotation that comes out of China. But if you go back 10, 15 years, they had like Cone Mills denim. They had other Japanese denim in the mix. Some of those old Supreme jeans are amazing. I had a pair of 20-year-old Supreme jeans that were just in amazing shape, but like also perfectly broken in. And it was one of
But
my
could you do that from 20 years forward going for their shit now, right?
yeah, who knows? And I did, for many years I also appreciated that Supreme did do a lot of manufacturing in the United States. And even going back to the early days, there was definitely stuff that was made in China or made overseas. But I'm also a big believer of manufacturing in the US. So anytime I come across something that's made here, in the clothing world, shoe world, or anything, it's nice. Uh,
Yeah.
so,
Even if it doesn't exactly mean what it meant.
yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of garbage made in America too, but like from the clothing, and even just like the small scale maker aspect of things, it's nice to support those businesses. Sure, it's going to cost more, but I assure you that 9 times out of 10, those garments that you're getting are going to last, and whoever you bought them from is going to take care of you if you have a problem with them down the road.
And they're probably not made by children.
Probably not. Ideally.
Yeah. So I guess to wrap up here, we want, and there's much more to cover, but we're trying to be respectful of all of our deadlines.
Oh, yeah.
Top 5 things in your whole collection, top 3 things in your whole collection.
Oh, God.
See, I knew this would fuck you up. I mean, it's like, how would you go?
Okay. All right. I mean, I can probably play this game. Can I play this game? I don't know. The top 3. So I have what and I still haven't found all the details on it yet, but there is a DNC Camo Supreme Camp Cap from, it's got to be 2000 or 2001 that I had never seen before. I did not know existed. And I picked up in Japan. Definitely like legit. It's the exact same shape and stitching and everything of other caps from that era. And a couple people actually hit me up. They're like, "Oh no, I've seen this cap. I had this cap." So like that was really cool because DNC is definitely my favorite camo pattern. And so to find an early Supreme reference to DNC that also exists nowhere else, that is really cool. That's definitely part of the the top 3. I would say the pieces of the Supreme Carhartt not Carhartt collab that they did in I think 98 as well, where they basically took the Carhartt design for the chore jacket and the double knee pants and slapped a little S that was stylized as the Carhartt logo on the back of the pants. So they looked like Carhartt, but they were Supreme. And then
wait. What business does Supreme have collaborating with the Democratic National Convention?
Wait, what? Is that a thing?
You're just talking about the DNC?
Oh no, not that DNC. Oh, come on, you're busting my balls. No, I'm talking about Desert Night Camo.
Nice, nice. Well, see, not everyone is hip to the acronym.
I'm sorry. DNC is another failed camo pattern that was popularized around the Gulf War that was supposed to evade Gen 1 night vision, but it turned out to be a complete failure. But it yielded this very cool like geometric / like chocolate chip style pattern.
It's almost.
I remember when Matt showed that to me. I was like, "Wow, this is like
cool." To me, it seems like one of the that definitely influenced digital camo.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And then can I count something that is no longer in my collection, or does that?
You can do whatever you want, dude.
Oh man, that freaking the Patagonia ripoff fleece. So, God, I just wish it fit. And going to find another one it's just impossible. And I'm definitely not going to pay the tax to buy one. I would much rather find it myself.
Just out of curiosity, what does that sell for? Now?
I mean, I think that you between like 1,500 I would say it's all it's all dependent on like condition and
right like a good condition.
I would say the spread is probably $1,200 to $1,800 on that fleece. And the fleeces definitely fetch more, I think, than the bomber jackets do and the coach's jacket do. And that may be because of Drake had it out there for a while.
Fucking Drake always ruining shit.
Hey man. So yeah, I think that's the top 3. One of them had to be a hat.
Yeah, totally. That's a good hat. Hat. Well, hell yeah, Mike. This has been super fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like Connor said, we have a lot of ground that we did not cover, but this has been a real fun.
If you ever want to do a part 2, this is the first time I've ever, done any kind of podcast.
Nice.
So,
nice.
This is the fucking premiere Cool Teens interview.
I would definitely I would love to talk to you guys again because there's definitely a lot of ground to cover. But this is very
been
cool.
A blast.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, dude. Well, yeah, shout out your Instagram account so people can know and follow. Fuck, we didn't even talk about tiny trucks.
Oh yeah, hang on a second. We gotta talk about
Yeah,
the little
we
truck.
have to get in some.
The little truck is something that really, like, if Matt and I were going to kill each other truly, and we've been to that point before, if somebody gave us a little truck or two little trucks even, we would be like, all right, fuck it. We're good.
Or a
See you going 40 miles an hour the other direction.
Yeah, or they could give us a Mitsubishi Delica and we could just travel.
Oh my god.
We could travel the country doing in-person interviews. Hey, if anybody's listening and you've got,
yeah, in my mind, I would absolutely love to own. Yeah, Delica would be awesome. Even one of those just little like 4-wheel drive farm trucks.
Oh yeah,
any kind of tiny van or truck. There's a guy up in the Catskills that sells. He imports.
Oh, that's awesome.
K trucks and K vans, and he also imports firefighting apparatus from Japan. So think about a fire truck, but make it this big.
That's what that guy Jeremiah. They were having this guy Jeremiah on who has like a clothing factory, but he has one of those like red fire truck vans.
So cool. And in the grand scheme of, I guess, purchasing a vehicle, they're not incredibly expensive. They can start at $3,000. They can go to, $20,000-$30,000, really depending on what you want. But I would love to have one of those like micro 4-wheel drive campers.
Same here. Please God, someone donate a Delica to Apocalypse Studs. A camper Delica, and Connor and I will hit the road immediately.
That is like both a nightmarish and dreamy prospect.
Yeah, it would be a dream for me, probably a nightmare for Connor.
No, dude, I think we would have a blast. I mean, we could go see all of our like comrades. This is the start of it. Everybody's always told me I should start a cult. I'm starting a commune. Yeah, we were talking about Timothy McVeigh last time. I mean, it just kind of is what it is.
Yes. Well, yeah, we'll have you back on at some point. But cool. Shout out probably soon. Good to chat, and shout out your info for our wonderful listeners.
Cool. Yeah, my Instagram is Hello Cool Teens, and that's it. I have no further self-promotion.
Post a lot of really cool shit.
Just tasteful stuff. Just like, and this is a thing I tried to puff you up about, like the amount of work that goes into shooting all of the product.
Oh yeah,
it's like meticulous,
Oh yeah,
labor of love, dude. That's so good.
And big shout out to anybody that does lay downs professionally, because it is the most tedious. And you can see if you look at my photos,
it's the worst.
I straight up can't. I don't have the fucking I don't have the foresight. I don't have the precision.
Yeah, I got I got some lighting stands in the bedroom, over the bed. So I'm sure when the cleaning lady comes, she's like, what's going on in here? And it's like, no, I'm just shooting clothes. But yeah, and my thought is just all right, at least make it presentable and try to take some good photos. The color isn't always good, and I'm not using T-pins to flatten things out, but I just like to represent it, maybe get a close up of a detail that I like, and that's how I roll. And if you don't like it, that's fine.
Hell yeah. The worst part about any type of clothing content is shooting fucking photos.
Yeah.
We got a license Rollin' by Limp Bizkit. I think that should be the song. Well, what is the other one? Highway. It's my way or the highway. We've sung this before, I know.
Yes. Fuck you for the Limp Bizkit reference. Fuck you.
Yeah, it's on my quarterly ration.
Yes. Anyway, everyone, thank you for listening. Thanks once more, Mike, for coming on and shooting the shit with me and Connor.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I am Matt's. Actually, sorry. We are at Apocalypse Studs on Instagram, apocalypsestuds@gmail.com if you would like to send us an email. Not going to riff on that anymore. I am Matt Smith at Rebels Rogues.
And I am Connor Flower at Connor Flower.
And we will see you next week.
Cool.
Cheerio. God, I've got to stop saying cheerio. That's like an Anglo affectation.